You spend roughly 6 years of your life dreaming. Not sleeping, dreaming. 6 full years spread across a lifetime, spent inside a world your own brain invented, populated with people who aren't there, doing things you never chose to do. If an alien anthropologist studied humans for a week, this is the fact that would stop them cold. Every single night, without exception, the dominant species on this planet goes unconscious, loses control of its own body, and hallucinates for hours. And somehow, this is considered completely normal. But the real answer to why is far stranger than your brain is just resting. You are dreaming right now, most nights, whether you remember it or not. Somewhere between 5 and 7 separate dreams, stacked back to back, most of them gone within minutes of waking. Why would a species that needs sleep to survive spend so much of that precious sleep on something so elaborate? Wouldn't it be simpler to just go dark? And it isn't only your species. Watch a dog sleep long enough and you'll see its paws twitch, its breath quicken, as if it's chasing something across a field only it can see. Cats flick their whiskers and flatten their ears at prey that isn't there. Even octopuses, animals separated from humans by roughly 600 million years of evolution, shift color and texture in their sleep in patterns that look uncomfortably close to a hunt or an escape. If dreaming were some strange, meaningless accident, you'd expect it to show up in one isolated branch of the animal kingdom, then quietly disappear. Instead, it keeps reappearing, independently, in wildly different brains, built from wildly different evolutionary paths. That kind of repetition is usually evolution's way of telling you something was worth the cost. Here is the first clue. Not all sleep is the same. Your night moves in cycles, roughly 90 minutes each, and dreaming is concentrated almost entirely in one stage of that cycle. REM sleep, short for rapid eye movement. During REM, your brain activity looks almost identical to when you're awake. Your eyes dart back and forth beneath closed lids, tracking something inside a world that exists only in your skull. Meanwhile, your body goes almost completely limp. This is called REM atonia, and it is not an accident. Your brainstem is actively sending signals to paralyze your major muscle groups. Your brain, in other words, builds a vivid, interactive world for you, and then deliberately locks the exits so you can't act it out. You can see what happens when that lock fails. A rare condition called REM sleep behavior disorder disables the paralysis. People with it have been documented punching walls, leaping out of bed, even injuring the person sleeping next to them, all while fully asleep, acting out a dream their body couldn't tell from reality. That single fact reframes everything. A dream is not a lightweight hallucination flickering at the edge of your mind. It engages your motor cortex with enough force that your brain has to actively fight to keep you still. So the question becomes, what is worth building every single night at that level of intensity? For decades, one answer dominated. In the 1970s, researchers Alan Hobson and Robert McCarley proposed that dreams were essentially noise. Your brainstem fires random electrical signals during sleep, and your cortex, always hungry to find a pattern, stitches those signals into a story. Under this theory, called activation synthesis, dreaming isn't meaningful. It's your brain's improv performance, forced to make sense of static. It's a tidy theory, but it runs into a problem the moment you compare notes with other people. Ask a room full of strangers about their recurring dreams, and the same handful of plots keep showing up. Falling, being chased, losing your teeth, showing up somewhere important without your clothes on. Random static should not produce the same greatest hits across cultures, continents, and centuries. Something about these plots is not random at all. A researcher named Antti Revonsuo noticed the pattern too, and pushed it further. Nearly all of the most common dream plots share one thing in common. They are threats, predators, falls, physical attacks, public humiliation. He proposed the threat simulation theory. Dreaming exists to give your brain a private, zero-risk space to rehearse danger. Think of it as a flight simulator, except instead of practicing a landing, your ancestors were practicing survival. Picture the world your ancestors actually lived in. Predators moving through the dark, cliffs and rivers that didn't forgive a wrong step, rivals within their own group who could turn violent. A person who dreamed, night after night, about outrunning a predator at zero real cost may have reacted a half-second faster the day a predator actually appeared. In a world with no hospitals and no second chances, half a second was the entire difference between a long life and a short one. Evolution doesn't reward comfort, it rewards outcomes. A nightly rehearsal of catastrophe, run inside a paralyzed body where failure costs nothing, is a strange kind of survival tool, hiding inside something that feels like nonsense. But threat rehearsal cannot explain a dream where you're flying over your childhood town. It cannot explain the classroom you haven't seen in 20 years, or the dead relative who hands you a coffee and says something that makes no sense at all. Not every dream is a threat. So the search for an explanation kept going. The next clue came from memory. Your hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for filing new information, stays remarkably active during REM sleep. In one striking set of experiments, researchers recorded the exact firing pattern of neurons in a rat's brain as it learned to run a maze during the day. That night, while the rat slept, the same neurons fired again, in the same sequence, as if the rat were running the maze all over again in its sleep. Your brain, it turns out, replays your day. Not perfectly, not in order, but it replays it. This gave rise to a second theory, dreaming as memory consolidation. While you sleep, your brain sorts through everything that happened, strengthening the connections that matter and pruning the ones that don't. Under this theory, the strange, disjointed logic of dreams isn't a flaw. It's a side effect of your brain testing new connections between old memories and new information, hunting for patterns it would never try while you're awake and thinking in a straight line. This is why so many breakthroughs arrive in sleep. Dmitri Mendeleev claimed the structure of the periodic table came to him in a dream. Paul McCartney reportedly woke up with the melody for Yesterday already complete in his head. None of this is mystical. It's your brain, freed from its daytime filters, wiring unrelated ideas together and occasionally striking gold. There's a third piece to this, and it might be the strangest one yet. Dreaming may double as emotional therapy. Researchers have found that during REM sleep, levels of stress hormones like cortisol drop even while your brain reprocesses emotionally difficult memories from the day. Some researchers call this overnight therapy. You relive the emotional core of a painful memory in a dream, but without the flood of stress chemicals you felt the first time around. Night after night, the sharpest edge gets sanded down, even though the memory itself stays intact. This may explain something you've likely felt yourself. A heartbreak that feels unbearable in the moment often feels different, if not lighter, a few weeks later, not because the facts changed, but because your brain quietly reprocessed how you feel about them while you slept. So, which theory is right? Threat rehearsal? Memory filing? Emotional first aid? The honest answer is probably all three, running simultaneously, tangled into a single messy process that no lab has fully mapped. Your brain didn't evolve to do one clean job at night. It evolved to keep you alive, help you remember, and help you cope. And dreaming appears to be the overlap where all three happen at once, disguised as nonsense. Notice something about your own reaction to all of this. Part of you wants dreaming to mean more than biology. You want the fire, the flight, the dead relative handing you coffee to be a message aimed specifically at you. But your brain wasn't writing you a letter last night. It was doing maintenance. Rehearsing danger, filing memories, cooling down a wound you didn't know was still open. The feeling of meaning inside a dream is real. It just isn't a riddle sent from some hidden part of yourself. It's the ordinary sensation of a brain caught mid-repair. And yet you remember almost none of it. Certain brain regions actively suppress memory formation during REM sleep, which is likely why most dreams evaporate within minutes of waking unless you fight to hold on to them. Whatever work is being done up there, it was apparently never meant to be witnessed by your waking mind. You weren't designed to remember the simulation. You were only designed to be shaped by it. There is one strange exception worth knowing about. Some people, with practice, can become aware that they're dreaming while the dream is still unfolding. It's called lucid dreaming, and researchers have found a clever way to confirm it's real. Because your eyes are one of the only body parts not paralyzed during REM, a lucid dreamer in a sleep lab can signal awareness by moving their eyes in a prearranged pattern, sending a message from inside a fully asleep, fully paralyzed body. Think about what that means. A person, unconscious by every normal definition, deliberately signaling to the waking world from a world you'll never remember visiting yourself. It suggests dreaming isn't a dimmer, foggier version of being awake. It's consciousness, running under a completely different set of rules, with every exit quietly locked from the inside. Which brings you back to tonight. Somewhere behind your closed eyes, your brain is going to build a threat you will never actually face. It will replay a memory you've already half forgotten. It will quietly turn down the volume on something that's been sitting too loud in your chest for too long. You won't ask it to do any of this. You won't watch it happen. You'll simply wake up slightly different than you fell asleep, with no memory of the machine that did the work. Consider how strange that arrangement really is. Every animal you know that dreams undergoes the same nightly disappearance. A version of you gets built, tested, and dismantled. And the version that wakes up in the morning inherits the results without ever being told what happened. You will never read the minutes of that meeting. You will only live with what it decided. 6 years of your life spent somewhere you'll never fully remember, in a world only you were ever allowed to see.